Continuing once again in the first global revolution, we are in chapter 1, and this is part 2 of motivations and values. These matters are seldom admitted, and when they do emerge, they are shrouded in taboo. If this diagnosis is at all valid, there would seem to be a need for lifting the taboos and honestly acknowledging the existence and power of the negative and positive aspects of individual and collective behavior, and for adopting an approach based on the enlightened and common self-interest of every inhabitant of this small planet to ensure that sustainable physical and social environments can be achieved for ourselves and our descendants. This self-centeredness, however, is merely one aspect of a broader question. What are the spiritual and ethical values, if any, that will constitute a foundation for the new global society, the emergence of which we are observing today? A new basis for moral and spiritual values. Again, another one of these inserted little boxes. O stealer of songs, my heart, where will you find them? You are needy and poor, but grasp firmly the black and red ink wisdom, and perhaps you will no longer be a beggar. And it says this is from Aztec Poetry, MSS Cantares Mexicanos, folio 68, R. The global society we are heading towards cannot emerge unless it drinks from the source of moral and spiritual values, which take out its dynamics. Beyond cultures, religions, and philosophies, there is in human beings a thirst for freedom, aspirations to overcome one's limits, a quest for a beyond that seems ungraspable and is often unnamed. Experience has shown that no dictatorship, no violence, no restriction has ever managed to wipe completely out of man's heart this often invisible, often passionate quest, constantly surging forth from the collective unconscious, and analyzed by Carl Jung. At the same time, individuals and groups increasingly place this issue at the forefront of their preoccupations. Thus does the South Commission, presided over by Julius Nyerere, express in its last report a very clear position in this respect, which shows evidence of an encouraging rise in awareness. And we have a quoted insert here. In the final analysis, the South's plea for justice, equity, and democracy in the global society cannot be dissociated from its pursuit of these goals within its own societies. Commitment to democratic values, respect for fundamental rights, particularly the right to dissent, fair treatment for minorities, concern for the poor and underprivileged, probity in public life, willingness to settle disputes without recourse to war, all these increase the South's chance of securing a new world order. Noble declarations such as this, which formally inspired the behavior of individuals and societies, no longer seem to be acceptable in contemporary activity. In the behavior of people and of states, even those with constitutionally guaranteed rights, morals are flouted and the law ignored or twisted to suit the convenience of the authorities. In so many areas of relationships and communication, the implicit trend is back to the jungle. As already mentioned, humans have a need to possess a sense of self if they are to lead a life of decent human dignity. This was well understood in many traditional societies, but in the whirlwind of change, it is very difficult to sustain. As a consequence of the many migrations, people are faced with cultural contradictions, often suffer a loss of identity, demoralization, and have no meaningful work. In Western societies with their shallow consumerism, I am what I own, or I am what I do, the more fundamental aspects of life have shrunk, including those of religion, ethnic identity, inherited values and beliefs. Such a situation leads to hyper-individuality, selfishness of all types, overconsumption, as well as an excessive search for distraction, for instance in TV viewing and drug addiction. There is a clear need for a new approach in which values are deliberately invoked to provide goals and a sense of meaning for the individual. However, change is too often seen as a threat to the self. Have traditional values then been suddenly forgotten or abandoned? Have spiritual values been set aside all at once? What is the evidence? In our chapter on the human malaise, we indicated that these values have in fact been progressively rejected by the recent generations. In the industrial society, spiritual values have been eroded by the invasion of materialism, which has also infected the elite classes in the developing countries. Again, confusion on values arises in some countries from the crises in the major religions, with their difficulty of adapting to the world in mutation without losing the essence of their message, as well as of responding to the serious questioning of the bewildered people of their congregations. Moral values are also becoming eroded because they are flagrantly ignored by those who profess them and by societies for which they are presumed to be the inspiration. Lax behavior, selfishness, and materialism appear to have made them irrelevant, but people are troubled by such symptoms. Never before has the issue of values been the object of so many symposiums, discussions, and research. This demonstrates that beyond the shattering of the old value system, a need is being expressed with increasing intensity for a value system, which would provide a basis of stability to the life of individuals and of society, and which would give a basis of stability and the vision of a systematic world capable of leading to a systematic future. Does this mean that a new value system is envisaged which would be in opposition to that of tradition, or to the capacity of the traditional values to take a stand on the new challenges, such as genetic engineering, that ceaselessly trouble human conscience and judgment? Can we speak today of universal human values that would be common to all the inhabitants of the planet beyond the diversity of their cultures? The answers to these questions are not easy, and yet they are what our future depends on. A global society can hardly be imagined without a base made of common or compatible values that will shape attitudes and common determination to face up to challenges, the moral strength to respond, and the management of change. We cannot want the emerging global society unless it is founded on the possibility of living together with the acceptance of differences and pluralism. A large proportion of traditional ethical values are still valid today, though they may take different forms because the changes in the conditions of reference. Virtually everywhere, present-day society is more open and richer, or at least aspires to be a shared well-being. It is also better informed. For example, the idea of solidarity is changing from a concept limited to the family tribe to a more broader concept, while its strictly tribal connotation may be openly discredited. To this end, pertinent ethical values may be defined and hopefully agreed upon if they are expressed in a way that is better adapted to the present situation. Among permanent values, we should suggest freedom, human rights and responsibilities, family life, equal rights for men and women, compassion for the aged and the disabled, respect for others, tolerance, respect for life and peace, the search for truth. And I'll stop right here, and we'll pick up part 3 of chapter 10 in the next video.